national made a Zoom call into court. He's facing 3 counts of vehicular homicide, 3 counts of manslaughter, and he now has no bond. Singh did not yet plead guilty or not guilty. The judge acknowledged Singh is an illegal alien, saying no conditions of release would ensure his appearance at trial. All this comes after Singh allegedly killed 3 people on a Florida highway earlier this month. Video shows Singh making an illegal U-turn in an 18-wheeler while a minivan crashes into the truck.
Singh's brother has also been arrested. Texas state lawmakers have passed a new redistricting map, which would allow Republicans more seats in Congress once the governor signs it. Fox's Garrett Tenney in Austin.
From here, the bill heads to Governor Greg Abbott's desk for signature, and after that, it's going to be headed to the courts. And that is because Democrats and outside groups are already preparing lawsuits claiming the new map violates the Voting Rights Act by diminishing the voting power of minority groups. Going back 50 years, every time Texas has drawn new maps, the courts have found at least one part of the map violated the Voting Rights Act. This time around, though, Republicans are confident they are on solid legal ground.
This comes as California is threatening to redistrict in response and give Democrats more congressional seats to make up for the ones lost in Texas. Immigration officials say they will deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda. He's a Maryland-based Salvadoran who was wrongly deported, then returned to the U.S. America is listening to Fox News.
Fox News Audio presents My Son Jeffrey, the Dahmer Family Tapes. He was one of America's most notorious serial killers. Now, never before heard family recordings offer new insight into the mind of Jeffrey Dahmer.
This next conversation is between Jeff and I.
My Son Jeffrey, the Dahmer Family Tapes podcast.
Absolutely nothing is too great not to be forgiven. Right.
Listen and follow now at foxtruecrime.com. Every weekday, it's your go-to source for staying informed and entertained. The Fox News Primetime Highlights Podcast, offering a curated selection of the most impactful moments of the Ingram Angle, Jesse Waters Primetime, Hannity, and Gutfeld. Listen and follow now so you never miss a moment of the action-packed highlights from these must-watch Fox News Channel shows. Go to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. America's listening to Fox News.
The Justice
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
IU police responding to a shooting before classes even start. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. An 18-year-old woman is now in custody after IU police say she shot someone near campus early Saturday morning. Officers responded to a call at around 2:30 a.m. The woman tried to flee the scene in a car, but was tracked down by officers and taken into custody. Campus police said the victim was shot in the leg. They also believe neither of the two are affiliated with Indiana University, but that they knew each other. A man is dead, another person injured from a shooting early Saturday morning on the near north side of Indianapolis. A man was taken to the hospital in critical condition but died there. The other injured person went to a hospital for treatment.
Should be able to go out and about on a Friday night, Saturday morning, without the fear of being shot or robbed or whatever.
IMPD officer John Arvin told reporters at the scene that police are working to gather more information and gain possible leads on a suspect or suspects. There's an agreement in place on merging the Adams, Markleville, Lapel, Stony Creek, and South Madison fire territories into one unified department. That will begin January 1st of 2026. And Notre Dame is putting a new twist on a timeless tradition for the first time in more than 60 years. Lynn Clark reports.
Created by Fighting Irish Media, the new logo shows the leprechaun in full motion with a football tucked under his arm. It's the first in a series of sports-specific logos fans will see this year. The new look will be on the sidelines, courtside, and on merchandise that is already hitting the shelves. Len Clark, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Most remain dry, low temperature tonight, around 60 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny, high temperatures in the mid-70s. And looking ahead to Monday, highs in the low to mid-70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Whether you're dropping them off for the first day of school or they're driving themselves for the first time, we know you have enough on your mind. That's why Hubler's got you and your family covered for 100,000 miles. And we want you to spend less on back to school. That's why you can shop over 2,000 vehicles and buy with zero down. Zero down delivers. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring us your old car for an immediate appraisal. Head back to school in a Hubler Q-certified vehicle with a free Carfax history report and a 128-point vehicle inspection. Hubler's got you covered. For 100,000 miles, visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Zero down delivers at Hubler. 'Cause Hubler's got you covered.
Select models approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Cover me!
Emmer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled you're with us. And got a lot to get into, as I always do. You know, this first topic I'm going to discuss, I'm usually pretty decisive on what I want to talk about on the show and what I don't, what I want to write about, whether it's out on the internet or otherwise. I usually got a pretty clear idea. And I really went back and forth on this, but really decided, I think for the right reasons, that I do want to address some real, I think, scam artists and grifters that are out there claiming to be Second Amendment advocates. And I just think at every opportunity, those of us who have been involved in the fight for a long time, and those of us who actually, show up at the State House, who actually take part in drafting legislation and then fighting to get it passed, those of us who fight to stave off the attacks on our Second Amendment rights with a lot of success here in Indiana. You know, when we see somebody really, I think, just trying to profiteer off others' efforts, and there are a lot of people fighting every day for Second Amendment rights, and a lot of people have done some amazing things right here in this state to protect our Second Amendment rights. And occasionally, though, we see a scam artist come along really just trying to line their own pockets. And that's exactly what we have in a gun group that I'm starting to get solicitations from on email. I don't know how I ended up on their email list, because I certainly have not sent any money to this organization, and I haven't signed up in any way to receive their stuff. But apparently I'm on some list because I get solicitations for money all the time from them, and it's always in relation to, you know, oh no, there's this horrible bill that's been filed. I've got a couple here lately, and I'm talking about the Indiana Firearms Coalition is the group I'm talking about. And this is the Dorr Brothers, DORR. And listen, if you're not in your car, you're in a place where you can safely do so at your computer or on your phone, just Google Dorr Brothers scam artists. Or Aaron Dorr, Chris Dorr, and the third one I think is Alan. I'm not entirely sure. But Chris Dorr and Alan Dorr are the two, I think, faces of the organization. And they have these so-called gun rights groups that have popped up in several different states. And apparently, according to a video they just released, they formed Indiana Firearms Coalition in 2021. And the video that kind of set me off, and the reason I decided to talk about them here on the show tonight, is a video they put out here just recently that they called, the origins of IFC, or Indiana Firearms Coalition. And they talked about, well, why did we form Indiana Firearms Coalition, and what are the wonderful things we've accomplished, and what are we trying to fix in terms of the problem with all these other people that are failing so miserably to protect Second Amendment rights in Indiana. And that was the tenor of the video. And I don't so much want to direct people to the video because they start off bragging about the number of views they get on their YouTube videos. And I'm guilty. I went and watched the thing, and by the time it was over, I was so angry. I was angry generally. I was angry on a personal level because they really tried to claim credit for a lot of things that I directly contributed to, if not were responsible for. And I try to be an adult on those things, but it's something that can certainly set you off a bit, as it did me. But the Indiana Firearms Coalition, and listen, I think they intentionally created a name very close to the Firearms Policy Coalition. Now, that's a national group. And let's just talk about gun rights groups for a minute before I get back to the Dorr brothers, being the grifters and the scam artists that they are. There are a lot of national organizations out there. And listen, for decades, for generations, we had, really since not long after, I believe it was the Civil War, the NRA was formed. And NRA's been the big kid on the block with gun rights groups and have done an awful lot of good for an awful lot of years. A lot of us have become very concerned about the direction of NRA, especially under Wayne LaPierre. I think he was executive vice president, but he was the guy running the organization. And there were whole kinds of litigation involving mismanagement of funds, and the direction of NRA, drifted to a large degree, and so much of its resources and the money people contributed started going to defending the lawsuits against NRA as opposed to going out there and doing the things that we really needed to get done. Now, make no mistake, I'm a benefactor level life member of NRA. And I truly believe we need a strong, fully resourced, powerful, influential NRA in this country. Gun rights are better off when the NRA is fully functional, fully funded, and doing the job that they were chartered to do when the group was created. Again, it started off as really a marksmanship-focused group, and it quickly focused to being policy and legislative and lobbying to a large degree after so many of the attacks started being launched on our Second Amendment rights. But NRA, in recent years, is one of the reasons I formed the 2A Project. I was worried about a gap between NRA's influence and ability to help us fight off attacks on our 2A rights, help us get pro 2A legislation passed. I said, you know what? I don't want to miss any opportunities here. I don't want any gaps. And this is nothing against NRA. I'm still a proud member. I go to their national meetings. But a lot of us lost a lot of confidence especially over the last 5, 6, 7 years in NRA. But again, I'm a defender and supporter and member and will remain so of NRA. And I'm very glad we now have 3 board members at NRA from Indiana. We have Craig Haggard, state representative, now running for Congress. We have Charlie Hill-Toonen, who's president of the Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association, and a good friend of mine and just a great guy, as is Craig Haggard. And then you have Jim Tomes, state senator from Indiana, who drafted our preemption law here in Indiana, went into effect back in 2011, which is still one of the most important pro-gun bills we've ever gotten passed in this state, which prevents local governments from regulating firearms, which is huge. If you allow Bloomington and Fort Wayne and East Chicago, Hammond, all these different communities to regulate guns the way they would independently as a local government, we'd have a whole different situation here in Indiana. So Jim Tomes did that. Tomes, you hear different pronunciations. I just call him Jim when I see him. But he and I have worked together a lot too. So with those 3 guys on the board of NRA, I'm hopeful they can really help steer NRA in the right direction because we need NRA. But in addition to NRA, there's some other really great groups that have had a lot of success here recently, especially in the courtroom. And there, I'm talking about Gun Owners of America. I'm also a proud member of Gun Owners of America, GOA. They've done some great things. They've won some great victories for us in court. Firearms Policy Coalition. And that's a group I mentioned because I'm concerned that Indiana Firearms Coalition, I'm sorry, Firearms Policy Coalition is the national group that I'm fully behind. They do great work. They've won some great victories in court. Indiana Firearms Coalition are the Door Brothers. That's the Door Brothers organization. They've set up similar lobbying, quote-unquote, groups or so-called gun rights groups across multiple states. These guys are from Iowa, apparently. But they've set up these kind of sister organizations in different states. But there are some great national groups out there doing great things. Right here in the state, you've got the 2A Project. That's the organization I founded. You got Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association, and I work very closely with those guys. We're on each other's email distribution list. We share strategy. We get together before every legislative session. We sit together at the committee hearings. Again, I mentioned Charlie Hill-Tunin, long-term great friend of mine. Kelly and Avon, Kelly Myers, you hear calling to the show often, also a member of the 2A Project, but co-director of legislative affairs, along with Jerry Torr, recently retired state representative, also co-director of legislative affairs for ISRPA. These are great people, good people, whose hearts are in the right place, who are doing great work, and who show up. They're there. I know because I'm there. And I've been going there and being there and fighting in the State House for a damn long time. And so when you see the folks that have fought hard and assisted in drafting legislation, that's one thing I do. Of anybody I just named, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, it's just something that I've done and I'm comfortable doing. I've drafted the most legislation. I drafted our self-defense immunity law that passed in 2019. I drafted the expungement law relative to our red flag cases that now allows people found not dangerous to wipe that off their record. I've drafted improvements to the guns on school property bill. I've drafted other improvements that greatly whittled down the dramatic overbreadth and that allows for dramatic misuse and abuse of the red flag statute. I've drafted multiple bills that have assisted in paring that down to the way it ought to be. I should say multiple provisions of a bill to greatly improve that law, which we've done. But there are people here doing good work, and I'm a small part of that team. But now what we have the Indiana Firearms Coalition, and if you get emails from these people, they always start off with some crisis. And you know what? NRA was doing a little bit too much of this too. I would get email. I actually unsubscribed from a lot of NRA's emails because I was getting emails that say, "Oh my God, there's this huge crisis. Send us money." And with the Door Brothers, or Indiana Firearms Coalition, invariably, the crises that they identify in these emails are complete false flags. They are complete red herrings. I mean, I've seen them here lately. Help us defeat Senate Bill whatever, which would ban semi-automatic weapons or which would do this or do that. And invariably, you will look at these. I'll say, hold on, what are they raising money on that basis for to fight that bill? Because that bill's dead. That bill died in committee. By the way, we're not even in a legislative session right now. So if they sent you some email that says, look, there's this horrible bill. It was a bill that was filed last year in the last session, or it could be this year in the session that ended this spring. And it's not on the table. Now, it may get refiled next year, and if it does, then we'll put the call out to go kick its ass. But these false flag emergencies, and always end with, and help us save your Second Amendment rights. Send us money, send us money, send us money. And listen, I don't mind solicitations for money. I've engaged in that too on behalf of the 2A Project. You don't hear me talk a lot about that here because I don't know that people listen to the Gun Guy Show because they want to get solicited for money, other than perhaps signed up for my classes, which I pitch on the regular. But I don't mind so much the solicitation of money, but it's what are you getting in return for that in terms of what's being delivered to you, in terms of the efforts on your behalf, and are they being straight with you on the reasons they're asking for money. And that's where the Dorr brothers, the Indiana Firearms Coalition, clearly, unquestionably, are simply grifters. And listen, if I mentioned before, if you're near a phone, you're near your computer, you're not driving, just Google these guys. Do your own search. Read the articles. It's article after article after article about what do these guys do. They do nothing in the state houses where they have organizations, including here in Indiana. Never seen these guys once, ever, in the state house. Not ever once. And I'm always there. There's a gun-related bill, I'm there. A lot of people will tell you that. They'll say, well, we send a lot of emails. They post YouTube videos. They'll certainly attack people that they say are selling out gun rights, quote unquote. But it's a way of causing division, and in the process, put money in their own pocket by getting people to donate to the organization, not believing that the other organizations or even some of our best pro-2A legislators are really fighting for their rights. I say, well, gosh, maybe I'm being sold out by these other people, by these other organizations included. Maybe I ought to just send money to these guys because they're the, as they say, no compromise group, and they'll stand up for me. Except all they do is take your money and do absolutely nothing. Then they wait to see what actually happens, and then they swoop in and take credit for it. We're going to take a break. I'm a little past the quarter hour. I'm going to get into some specific examples based on this most recent video that they posted, where they're taking specific credit for accomplishments we've had it right here in Indiana that they had absolutely nothing to do with. And listen, I don't take pleasure in any of this because pro-2A groups, conservatives in general, we all ought to be shoulder to shoulder. We all ought to be marching in lockstep. And I hate it. Even gun owners, man, I'll go out there on the gun-related pages. It's on social media or otherwise. And gun owners always want to attack each other, you know? Somebody will post a picture of their rifle, and other people will be making fun of their dime store optics or their this, that, or the other thing. It's like, come on, man. We're sharing interest here. We're on the same team. And lately, you know, with this overused term of rhino, well, that people over there are rhinos. Listen, I'm not immune. I've used that term. I've used it recently. But anymore, that gets used to create infighting, not because the target of those attacks has legitimately sold us out, but because people see that as a way to fundraise. And that's the distinction, without ever delivering any work product or even any effort in the process. So it pains me to go after a group that's ostensibly fighting for your 2A rights. But I'll tell you what, I don't want these people in Indiana. I don't want them getting your money and having them not deliver on what it is they promised, because I'll guarantee you they don't. They collect your money and laugh on the way to the bank, and that's that. And just Google it. Do your own research. You'll see how many times across the country, legislators, other pro-2A groups, respected groups like NSSF, National Shooting Sports Foundation, which represents the firearms industry, including retailers and manufacturers and gun shops and gun ranges and instructors. That's the reason I'm a member. But we're taking a break. We'll come back. I'll get more into this discussion and go through some of the specifics of this most recent Dorr Brothers video and how completely outlandish it is in terms of the attacks they make on Indiana legislators, the attacks they make on other pro-2A gun groups, and the credit they try to claim themselves for things they had absolutely nothing to do with. It angers me, and it's time to call them out. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's hot out there. The weather's hot.
And when we say hot,
But the headlines, they're even hotter.
I mean extremely hot.
The news of the day is heating up.
IMPD officers shot at least 3 times. One suspect was also shot. Diego Morales, Secretary of State, in his bizarro international travel.
Playing out right in front of us every single day.
Stay cool.
Finally, a cool down is coming.
Stay informed.
All the information right here.
Stay with 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular course is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. And our next one is coming up Saturday, September 20th. It's going to be at Indy Arms on the northeast side of Indy. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. It's 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. When can you use force, including deadly force, in self-defense? How do you avoid commonly prosecuted crimes like pointing a firearm, intimidation with a deadly weapon, criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon? Where can you and can you not carry your firearm? Some places have a great big old sign that say no firearms allowed, totally legal to carry your gun there. Other places have no sign at all, and it's a felony to carry your gun there. So how do you know? How do you stay on the right side of the law? You just have to know, and that's exactly what this course delivers. So we'd love to see you there Saturday, September 20th. Go to tactical-firearms.com. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Click on upcoming courses. Again, that's tactical-firearms.com.
Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nobody gonna slow me down.
Don't let pneumococcal pneumonia break your stride. If you're 50 or older, you're at increased risk. So be proactive with Capvaxive pneumococcal 21-valent conjugate vaccine to help protect against invasive pneumococcal disease and pneumonia caused by certain types of pneumococcal bacteria. Capvaxive helps protect against the strains of bacteria that cause about 30% more IPD cases than any other pneumococcal conjugate vaccine in adults over 50, according to national-level CDC stats. Regional variations may exist. Don't get Capvaxive if you're allergic to the vaccine or its ingredients. Tell your doctor if you have a weakened immune system. Common side effects include injection site reactions, feeling tired, headache, muscle aches, and fever. Capvaxive does not protect against all strains. For more information, call 1-800-927-8888 or visit capvaxive.com. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Capvaxive. Need help paying for your Merck vaccine? Visit merckhelps.com. Sponsored by Merck.
Road trip! This summer at Tire Discounters, your tires are your passport to savings, because you're driving to Paris,
Texas,
then it's off to Rome,
Georgia,
and you'll be kissing the Blarney Stone in Dublin,
Ohio!
Right now, save up to $404 when you buy 4 tires, and that includes a free alignment and oil change. Stop at Tire Discounters before you see the world.
Shop incredible end-of-summer savings at the Scandinavian Designs Labor Day sale. For a limited time, take up to 70% off select modern furniture and decor for every room in your home, including living room, bedroom, dining room, and more. This is the perfect opportunity to get your space prepped for the party season ahead. Stop by your local showroom today or shop online at ScandinavianDesigns.com. Scandinavian Designs. We make it simple, you make it home.
You want to see basketball played the way it's supposed to be? Tune in to Ice Cube's Big 3 this summer. Watch stars like Dwight Howard, Kemba Walker, Joe Johnson, Michael Beasley, and many more, along with Hall of Fame coaches. Experience the fast pace and physical play and fun action that defines the game. You know what it is. It's the Big 3. Catch the best professional 3-on-3 players in the world live every weekend on CBS and Vice.
Oh, yay, yay!
David was in big trouble with the IRS.
At first, I didn't owe that much, but after this year, it was out of control.
Then David called Get a Tax Lawyer.
Right away, they were like, oh yeah, looks like you're qualified to say
Get a Tax Lawyer went to work.
Should have called way sooner.
Get a Tax Lawyer has helped thousands like David fight the IRS and get a fresh start.
Call 800-745-3070. That's 800-745-3070.
Hey, y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Indy Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today, indyhumane.org.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So we're talking about this organization, Indiana Firearms Coalition, really set up by a set of brothers. There's actually 4 brothers, but the 2 that are most vocal you see out there on YouTube and whatnot are the oldest, Aaron Dorr, D-O-R-R, and his brother Chris. And they do the same thing, state to state to state. And by the way, gun rights are not their only deal. They really got going, I think, during COVID, because they started launching these fundraising efforts around fighting COVID restrictions. And then they decided that conservatives were pretty good about opening up their checkbook or getting their credit card out. And they decided to set up the pro-life, anti-abortion websites and organizations. And they were fundraising on that basis. And then decided to add the Second Amendment to the mix. And okay, anybody can advocate for whatever causes they believe in. And those are all causes that I personally believe in. The problem is, what are they returning as far as return on investment based on the donations that they receive? And there are reports out there, these people nationally receive millions of dollars, which is like a punch in the gut to think that they're really just putting that money in their own pocket and getting rich off other people's desires to really fight to preserve liberties in this country. But in the video that kind of set me off, the reason I'm talking about it here on the show is they talk about why they formed Indiana Firearms Coalition. And it was formed in 2021, and they talk about Indiana's red flag law. And listen, anytime we're going to talk about the red flag law, when I explain to people how the law works, and I explain to them what is and isn't wrong with the law, a lot of times people will misperceive that and then mischaracterize that into believing that somehow, or portraying my discussion as that I'm somehow defending Indiana's red flag law. There's no one that's been more vocal than me in talking about the flaws and the abuse associated with Indiana's red flag law. I litigate those cases. I'm in court fighting for clients under this statute. And I'm the only lawyer in this state who took the statute up to the Indiana Court of Appeals, arguing as strongly and with as much powers of advocacy as I could summon that it's unconstitutional. And in a 2-1 decision, the Indiana Court of Appeals disagreed with me, and the Supreme Court didn't choose to take the case. But I argued the whole damn statute was unconstitutional and ought to be set aside. So I'm not the guy who's going to come into any discussion defending our red flag law. At the same time, when people take issue with it or talk about why it ought to be repealed, I want to make sure if we're going to be effective advocates for the Second Amendment, we need to do so from a position not only of strength, but of accuracy and of intellectual integrity. And by that I mean, let's be right. And let me tell you, as set out in this video from the Dorr brothers, they got about every damn thing wrong. They clearly haven't taken the time to even understand Indiana law and recent Indiana changes in Indiana law, or they're just not particularly bright, or some combination of all the above. Let's talk about the red flag law. It was passed in 2005. Indiana was the second state in the country to pass a red flag law after Connecticut. And the momentum behind getting it passed 2005 was the murder, totally senseless murder, of a very beloved Indianapolis Police Department patrolman named Timothy, nicknamed Jake Laird, and everybody knew him by Jake. 31 years old at the time. This happened on August 18th, 2004. And the person who murdered Jake Laird, Officer Laird, was a 33-year-old guy who lived on Deet Street down on the near south side, named Kenneth Charles Anderson. And Kenneth Anderson was a guy who'd had a history of mental health problems. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. And he also had a bunch of guns. He'd never been involuntarily committed to a mental institution, which would have made him ineligible to possess guns or buy guns, and he'd never been convicted of a serious crime, like a felony that would have also prohibited him from possessing firearms. And multiple times when he would stop taking his medication, he would start getting threatening. He would threaten violence. He'd be loud. Police would be called. He had his guns taken from him. But he'd start taking his medication again. He'd calm down. He'd go down to the police station and say, I want my guns back. And at the time, there was no legal mechanism. There was no legal way for police to say, no, you can't have your guns back. He wasn't a prohibited possessor. And so they had to give him his guns back. They were his property. Well, on August 18, 2004, again, he's not taking his medication. He's having a schizophrenic episode. He ends up murdering his wife, and he goes out into the street with a semi-automatic SKS 7.62 rifle. He's firing shots, screaming and yelling. Police are called. Multiple police respond. There's a shootout. A couple of different officers were wounded, and Patrolman Jake Laird is killed. And the legislature in the very next session looked at this, and a lot of people, and for all the flaws of our red flag law, I understand this. A lot of legislators said, hold on, we knew this guy had serious mental illness. We knew he didn't reliably take his medication. We knew he was dangerous when he didn't take his medication. Why couldn't his guns be taken from him, was the thought process. And I'm not defending any of this. And if somebody wants to sit down and debate with me whether you should have your guns seized from you when you haven't been institutionalized and you haven't been convicted of any crime, I know which side of that argument I'm going to take based on purely constitutional grounds. I'm trying to explain to you the rationale of the legislature. And the legislature said there ought to be a mechanism if someone's truly dangerous. So the way the statute has worked, and worked since the beginning, is police can either go to, and this could be based on a report from anybody. There's another where the Dorr brothers are confused. Since it's been passed in 2005, the Indiana red flag statute allows your neighbor could call police. Say, this guy's crazy. He's pointing a gun at me. I've had this case. This guy's ranting and raving and pointing a gun at me. A family member can call police. Police can just observe you directly as you're out in public, or police get called to your house for whatever reason, and you're behaving in a way that make police think you're both dangerous and in possession of a firearm. Police can either go to a court and ask for a judge to determine whether there's probable cause based on information supplied by the police officer that you're dangerous. And if so, the judge signs a warrant that says, yes, go seize this person's firearm. Or in more of an emergency situation, when it's just the police who encounter a person who may be dangerous, police can seize the firearms. Then within 48 hours, they have to submit, now it's called an affidavit. That's changed a little bit. They used to be able to report still, some kind of a report to the judge saying, here's why I seized this guy's guns. And a judge then reviews that for probable cause. And if a judge says, no, there's no probable cause, they say, give him his guns back. If they say, yes, there's probable cause, okay, keep the guns. And then they set up for a hearing, which is supposed to happen in 14 days. And that's where the person has full-blown due process. Now, when people say guns can be seized on the front end with no due process, is that true or is that not true? That is, a police officer can take the guns and there's no court hearing, there's no opportunity to argue your case, no opportunity to have a lawyer. That doesn't sound like due process, does it? I'll tell you what, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. I'm going to break there. We'll come back. And is there due process, or is there sufficient due process, which is a whole separate question, in the red flag law? I'll come back then and talk about the attacks on Indiana legislators by these idiots, the Dorr brothers, and how it's really completely not only unfounded, I think it's intentionally disingenuous, purely as a grift, purely as a scam to raise money to line their own pockets. That's what we'll get into when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day. Not with all this happening. Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Zillow ranking Indy number 2 among 2025's hottest markets. Home values have risen and are holding strong. Now is a great time to sell. Hire the team with proven systems to max your equity. I'm talking about real estate expert Mark Dietel. That's what Luke and Emma in Franklin did. They built their dream home. They needed to sell their old place to get the great price to pay for it. Mark Dietel made it easy. Multiple offers in the first weekend, closed in 25 days at the price they needed. Mark Dietel and his team came through big.
Mark Dietel is the best in the business, and he has the guarantee that backs it up. Mark Dietel is the only real estate agent that we recommend, and he guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price or deadline, or he will buy it. You pick the move date, no long-term contracts. That's what separates Mark Dietel. 755-4232, or go to markdietel.com. That's Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietel.com. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Have you tried Wings Etc's new ranch fire sauce? House-made ranch with a fiery kiss of fresh ground habanero peppers and garlic. New ranch fire on our hand-breaded chicken sandwich? Big flavor. On a jalapeno bacon burger? Big flavor. On anything, wings, fries, pretzel bites? Big flavor. When you want to dance with spicy ranch, come to the folks who've been flying the big flavor flag since 1994. Wings Etc. We got your big flavor right here. Visit wingsetc.com.
An official message from Medicare.
I'm saving money on my Medicare prescriptions. Maybe you can save too. With Medicare's Extra Help program, my premium is $0 and my out-of-pocket costs are low. Who should apply? Single people making less than $24,000 a year, or married couples who make less than $32,000. Even if you don't think you qualify, it pays to find out.
Go to ssa.gov/extrahelp. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This hour on 93 WIBC, powered by Pierce Jewelers and Carmel, designers of fine custom jewelry.
Fox News, I'm Angelo Bavaro. Israel launching an offensive to remove terrorist group Hamas from Gaza City. Fox's Stephanie Bennett.
Israel's defense minister warned that Gaza City could be destroyed, with plans to call up tens of thousands of reservists for a Gaza City takeover approved by Benjamin Netanyahu unless Hamas yields to Israel's terms.
Israel says Gaza City is still a Hamas stronghold with a network of tunnels. Meantime, the world's leading authority on food crises says famine is happening in the Gaza region. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is promising to quickly sign off on a redrawn congressional map. This comes after the state Senate gave final approval to that plan designed to help Republicans win 5 more seats in the U.S. House. California now planning to counter by redrawing its maps. America is listening to Fox News.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new Tacoma, $299 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license 249 dealer doc. RAV4 model 4432, Tacoma model 7540. 36 months, $29.99 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter. Expires 9/1.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
We need each other because every someone needs someone else.
We need each other because when we work together, we can do so much more.
We connect more children with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. And that's what Child Fund is all about.
Because when you make someone's world better, you make everyone's world better.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
Learn more at childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So again, if anybody's just joining us, I'm explaining how our red flag law, that is a gun seizure law that allows guns to be seized from people that are quote-unquote dangerous, how it works. And please do not take my explanation for how the statute works to be an argument by me that I'm in favor of the law. That's not my point. I'm simply explaining the way the law functions and explaining what attacks on the law are legitimate and which ones don't have any real legal support. And that's an important point. If we're going to be intellectually honest about the discussion and how we can either improve it or get rid of it altogether, let's do so on the basis of facts and correct legal interpretation of how the statute actually functions. So a policeman encounters someone who's acting strangely, threatening people, waving a gun around. They take that gun away from them. And in that moment that person has their gun seized, has there been any due process? No, none whatsoever. Okay, but the police officer has to submit now an affidavit to a judge who reviews that affidavit to determine whether it establishes probable cause that the person's dangerous, so that the officer was correct in seizing the gun, because that's the standard for the police officer to seize the gun to begin with. Probable cause to believe dangerousness. When the judge reviews the affidavit for probable cause, that's the first step in due process. It's not complete due process. But consider this. People that say there's no due process, and again, I'm not defending the statute, I'm explaining how it works. When a police officer sees you, let's say, commit an armed robbery on the sidewalk in downtown Indianapolis. Police officer sees you, pulls up, pulls their gun, disarms you, puts you in the back of the police cruiser, and takes you to jail. Now, there's a dramatic difference in that situation because you've just committed a serious felony. And you deserve to get arrested based on that officer observing you. However, the only point I'm making is in the moment the police officer puts you in the back of the car in handcuffs and takes you to jail, you've had no due process whatsoever. So how is that constitutional? If you can't be deprived of life, liberty, well, if you're in handcuffs in the back of a police car on the way to jail, you've been deprived of your liberty without due process. How can that possibly be? Well, because we can't convene a court session there on the sidewalk to determine whether there's probable cause for your arrest. So the system and what's been determined to be constitutional in the context of due process is, yes, you go to jail, but then you promptly have a hearing before a judge for the judge to determine whether there's probable cause for you to be held. And only if and this can be done in writing, it could be done on the submission of affidavits. Very, very similar, not identical to what we're talking about with red flag laws. A judge then determines probable cause. Aha, no probable cause, you get set free, due process. But then the real point is, do you, on a timely basis, get to have full due process, have a lawyer, to compel witnesses to testify on your behalf, confront the witnesses against you? All the elements of due process. None of that's immediate. It all happens eventually, and therefore that process is constitutional in the due process area. The red flag law was designed around that. No, you don't get due process when your guns are seized by a police officer, but a judge reviews the seizure for probable cause, just like an arrest. No, you don't get full due process at the time the judge is reviewing that affidavit. That's just one side only. And yes, eventually it's supposed to happen in 14 days unless you ask for more time as the person whose gun was seized. You get a hearing where you have full due process. So for people to come out and say there's no due process, well, it's not perfect due process. But let's attack the statute on legitimate basis and let's reform it and let's cure the abuses. That's what I've been working on for a damn long time, and with a lot of success. I wanted to lay that out and give you that context before we get into the specifics of the Dorr Brothers attack on Indiana legislators, on other pro-gun groups, based on what's happened with our red flag law in recent years. We'll get back into that discussion here in just a moment. By the way, we're going to have a very short segment when we come back. Our phone lines are apparently down. I got producer Jack working on that. Hopefully we can get that fixed in the next hour and 10 minutes. But right now, apparently the phone lines are down, which happens here somewhat on the regular at WIBC. Hopefully we can get that cured. And if so, I will let you know. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
The ultimate job of why we send people to Congress is not to be a teammate or an opposition to the president. It's to be a check and balance. If there's areas you agree, great, you vote together. If there's areas you don't agree, you push back. And all we see now in terms of our Congress is just, hey, if it's Democrat, it's blanket opposition. And if you're Republican, it's blatant errand boy behavior.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Sign up for our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield has the deals you've been looking for your next car, truck, SUV, or electric vehicle. And right now, during their Red, White, and New sales event, you will get independence from car payments with no payments for 3 months and enjoy your freedom in the new Ford F-150 Super Crew or Mustang with 0% APR financing for 48 months. At Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, they're pros at servicing your commercial vehicles. From medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks, talk to Andy Moore Ford, the biggest selection of Super Duties in the entire state. Over 175 Super Duty trucks are on the ground and ready for you and your business, and you can save thousands because Andy always gives you more. And with an expert team and a fast turnaround, they know how to keep your business moving. Talk to Andy Moore Ford today. 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield or online at Andy Moore Ford, MOHR. I love Andy. AndyMooreFord.com.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating. Family owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product, which repels moisture, scratch resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas too. For a free quote, call 317-696-4071 or visit PremierDeckCoating.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Want to be part of the conversation without waiting on hold?
We're sorry. All of our representatives are still assisting other customers.
Join the Text Club. Direct access to your favorite WIBC show. Text WIBC to 317-239-9393. Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
So in explaining a little bit how the red flag law works, again, I can't emphasize this enough. Do not take that as me defending the red flag law. I'm just explaining it and explaining why there's some attacks make more sense than others. An attack that I've been making since day one and really points to how this was rushed through the General Assembly in 2005 is the horrible, horrible definition of dangerous that was in the statute. These Door Brother idiots start off their video early on saying, oh yeah, it was passed and there was no definition of dangerous. It's whatever a police officer thinks it is. No, there was a definition. It's in section 1 of the statute. I'm not real sure how you missed it there, guys. But there was a definition, but it was just horribly overbroad. The definition started off, if a person's an imminent risk of personal injury to themselves or others. Okay, well, that part makes a little bit of sense, imminent risk of personal injury to yourself or others. But then it went on to say, or the person may be a risk of personal injury to themselves or others in the future, may be in the future. How incredibly overbroad is that? And one of two things. Either they have a mental illness that's controlled by medication, but they don't reliably take their medication, or there's documented evidence which would give rise to a reasonable belief that they have a propensity for either violent or emotionally unstable conduct. And I ask you, we know what violent conduct is. You're trying to hurt somebody. What's emotionally unstable mean? What does that mean? What does emotionally unstable mean? It means whatever a judge wants it to mean. That was the original definition. That was a problem, and that's what we needed to fix, and we did. Right now we're taking a break. Top of the hour. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nobody gonna slow me down.
Don't let pneumococcal pneumonia break your stride. If you're 50 or older, you're at increased risk. So be proactive with Capvaxive pneumococcal 21-valent conjugate vaccine to help protect against invasive pneumococcal disease and pneumonia caused by certain types of pneumococcal bacteria. Capvaxive helps protect against the strains of bacteria that cause about 30% more IPD cases than any other pneumococcal conjugate vaccine in adults over 50, according to national-level CDC stats. Regional variations may exist. Don't get Capvaxive if you're allergic to the vaccine or its ingredients. Tell your doctor if you have a weakened immune system. Common side effects include injection site reactions, feeling tired, headache, muscle aches, and fever. Capvaxive does not protect against all strains. For more information, call 1-800-927-8888 or visit capvaxive.com. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Capvaxive. Need help paying for your Merck vaccine? Visit merckhelps.com. Sponsored by Merck.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially liked the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops. Really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
Road trip!
This summer at Tire Discounters, your tires are your passport to savings, because you're driving to Paris,
Texas,
then it's off to Rome,
Georgia,
and you'll be kissing the Blarney Stone in Dublin,
Ohio!
Right now, save up to $404 when you buy 4 tires, and that includes a free alignment and oil change. Stop at Tire Discounters before you see the world.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems. including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Tomorrow, Fox News, the undocumented migrant charged with causing a deadly crash killing 3 people in Florida facing a judge. Fox's Madison Scarpino.
The 28-year-old Indian national made a Zoom call into court. He's facing 3 counts of vehicular homicide, 3 counts of manslaughter, and he now has no bond. Singh did not yet plead guilty or not guilty. The judge acknowledged Singh is an illegal alien, saying no conditions of release would ensure his appearance at trial. All this comes after Singh allegedly killed 3 people on a Florida highway earlier this month. Video shows Singh making an illegal U-turn in an 18-wheeler while a minivan crashes into the truck.
Singh's brother has also been arrested and faces deportation. The Trump administration is now suspending visas for foreign truck drivers in response to this incident. ICE officials telling lawyers for illegal migrant Kilmer Abrego Garcia that he may be deported to Uganda after being released from jail on Friday.
He walked out of a Tennessee jail after he declined another offer from the federal government. His attorneys claim they wanted him to stay in jail until Monday and plead guilty to human smuggling charges. In exchange, he'd get deported to Costa Rica after his sentence. The court filing says the government gave him until Monday to accept the Costa Rica offer, or else it's off the table and Uganda is the alternative. He shared a message in Spanish thanking God and the groups that helped him, but acknowledged he has a long legal battle ahead. He was jailed on smuggling charges based on a suspicious traffic stop in 2022.
Fox's Rebecca Castor, a ruling by a federal judge only prevents Garcia from being deported to El Salvador, and he must be given 72 hours notice before deportation. America is listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton is
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Another fatal shooting in the capital city. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. A man is dead from a shooting on the north side of Indianapolis early Saturday morning. Police say another person was shot and took themselves to the hospital to recover. IMPD officer John Arvin.
Should be able to go out and about on a Friday night, Saturday morning, without the fear of being shot or robbed or whatever.
Indianapolis police are investigating further. It adds to another fatal shooting experienced in the city this summer. IU police are investigating a shooting from early Saturday morning, too, near the campus. Ryan Hedrick reports from Bloomington.
Message alerts started coming in from IU Bloomington to parents and students at 2:41 a.m. on Saturday, talking about a shooting on the campus near 10th and Walnut Grove. It was an 18-year-old woman who shot another woman that she knows, but police say that these two aren't affiliated with the school. One woman is in the hospital, another is in jail, and IU police are still looking into this. Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC, Mobile News.
The Zionsville Police Department is installing a Nalox box, providing 24/7 public access to the life-saving medication Narcan. The drug is available at no cost in the department's public breezeway. Mayor John Stayer said, quote, "If supplying free Narcan saves one person, it is worth it." And 3 fire departments in southern Madison County are set to merge in 2026. The merging departments are the Adams, Markleville, Lapel, Stony Creek, and South Madison fire territories. They will become one unified department starting January 1st. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Most remain dry, low temperature tonight, around 60 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny, high temperatures in the mid-70s. And looking ahead to Monday, highs in the low to mid-70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new Tacoma, $299 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license 249 dealer doc. RAV4 model 4432. Tacoma model 7540. 36 months, $29.99 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter. Expires 9/1.
The Attorney General's office wants to put your money back in your pocket. Visit indianaunclaimed.gov and search for yourself, your loved ones, or your business. It's fast, easy, and free.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. So I'm talking about some scam artists, some absolute unquestionable grifters in the form of the Door Brothers, who have this organization now, one of several state organizations that have popped up across the country, founded by these guys, called Indiana Firearms Coalition. And it's a scam group. They don't actually do anything. They send some emails looking for money, and then they post YouTube videos claiming about their victories. But they don't actually have any victories. What they're doing is claiming credit for what others have accomplished. And in the process, they'll criticize anybody actually involved in the fight for 2A rights in the various states where they have a presence, as slimy a presence as it may be. And we're talking about this video that they posted here just recently, and my friends at Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association sent it to me, and they knew it would set me off, and of course it did. So they're talking about why they formed the Indiana Firearms Coalition. And they said, well, we did it in 2021, really in reaction to the horrible rhinos expanding the red flag law in 2019 and making it much worse. And so we just felt we had to do something for Indiana gun owners. Well, what actually happened in 2019? I was explaining before the break, at the top of the hour, that one of the main problems with the red flag law, this was part of my argument for why the 2A, or why the red flag law is unconstitutional, as it previously existed anyway, it is the incredibly vague and overly broad definition of dangerous. Because it not only, as I said before the break, not only did it include someone who's in imminent danger, an imminent risk of personal injury to themselves or others, but it included if they may be a risk of personal injury to themselves or others in the future, maybe, and I actually had an MD PhD psychiatrist on the stand in one red flag hearing, and he was asked by a prosecutor, well, is the respondent, and that's the person whose guns were seized, is Mr. So-and-so a potential future risk? And the psychiatrist said, well, everybody's a potential future risk. Boom, you've just checked that box. But then the second box that has to be checked under this alternative definition of dangerous is either the person has a mental illness controlled by medication, but they don't reliably take their medication, or there's documented evidence which would give rise to a reasonable belief that they have a propensity for violent or emotionally unstable conduct. Now, why did the legislature go beyond someone who's in imminent danger and talk about someone who just may be a danger in the future? Because that's, as I argued to the Court of Appeals, and I still think this was absolutely correct, and why that's unconstitutionally vague, is because it's putting judges, and at least on the street, initially police officers, in the position of trying to read minds. And in fact, I made the analogy to the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where it was this futuristic police department, and they formed a department of pre-crime. And they had these three psychics called precogs. And the precogs, as I recall, they kind of drifted around in this sensory deprivation kind of an environment, and they did psychic things, and they predicted the future. And they would come back and they say, well, Guy Relford's going to commit a crime 3 weeks from Monday, and he's going to commit this horrible murder or whatever it might be. And they'd go arrest you before you committed the crime. And this is all great because now it's crime prevention, right? And of course that all breaks down and innocent people start getting carted off to jail, and that's the point of the movie. And I said, you're asking judges at a hearing, if you say somebody may be dangerous in the future, you're asking judges to be the precogs from the Minority Report, something they're ill-equipped to do. I don't know that a psychiatrist is equipped fully to predict someone's behavior in the future. I know for a fact they're not. Much less a judge. It's not what they're trained to do. And I still think I'm right on that argument, and respectfully disagree if the Court of Appeals didn't throw that provision of the statute out. But it was a huge problem, especially on maybe a danger in the future combined with this violent or emotionally unstable conduct. What's emotionally unstable mean? I made this argument many, many times before we finally got the statute improved. I started to say fixed, and I wouldn't go that far. Improved in 2019. And what's emotionally unstable? You know, if I'm watching a Colts game and the quarterback throws an interception and I cuss a lot and throw my pillow at the TV, my wife would say that's emotionally unstable. Do I have a propensity for emotionally unstable conduct? And if so, since I may be a risk of personal injury in the future, since everyone's a potential risk, then boom, I can have my guns taken away from me. That's not okay. Especially going back to the baseline position of should anyone ever have their guns taken from them and they've not committed any crime, which is the fundamental attack on red flag laws. And so in 2019, a couple of things were happening together. And by the way, you need to know these facts to fully understand how completely off base and dishonest the Dorr brothers are in their attack on legislators who were involved in this process, or gun rights groups that were or were not involved in this process. And approaching 2019, a number of things were going on. I was going to legislators saying, we got to fix this vague statute of dangerous. You're having people lose red flag cases and have their constitutional rights destroyed, in the context of the Second Amendment anyway, who are truly not dangerous. It's because judges rely on this emotionally unstable business, when emotionally unstable doesn't mean they're going to hurt anybody. And it certainly doesn't mean they're going to use a gun to hurt anybody. Why are we taking constitutional rights away from people on that basis? It makes no sense. At the same time, on the other side of the equation, a lot of Republican lawmakers were getting approached by law enforcement. And they also got approached by people I deeply, deeply respect. That's the parents of Jake Laird. And I met Michael Laird on multiple occasions. And his wife, he always calls Mrs. L, so I can never remember her first name, and I apologize for that if they listen to this or get wind of it. But Michael Laird, a true gentleman, and he's obviously very, very, very pro-cop, being the father of a murdered police officer. But he's also pro-2A. He's not an anti-gun zealot or a gun grabber or any other of the names you want to put on people who are trying to deprive people of their constitutional rights. That's not who he is. But police officers, including the Lairds, realized that there was, from their perspective anyway, a hole in the red flag statute, which is that, yes, if you're found to be dangerous, you get your full due process, and you bring your own lawyer in, you present your own arguments, present your own evidence, but the judge rules against you and finds you to be dangerous. Under the laws that existed before 2019, you could say, okay, which meant that the police would keep the guns they seized from you, but you could walk right out of the courthouse, walk across the street to a gun store, and buy another gun. And there was nothing that prohibited you from doing that, because you weren't a quote-unquote prohibited possessor by being found to be dangerous under state or federal law. And listen, have I ever seen cases where people were legitimately dangerous? Yes, I have seen that case. Doesn't mean I'm supporting the red flag law. I'm just telling you there are people out there who are truly dangerous. And so a lot of momentum started building up in the General Assembly to put in a penalty for buying a gun or acquiring a gun or even possessing a gun after you've been found to be dangerous. And I got consulted on this by several different lawmakers, including Donna Shibley, who was really in the forefront and working with the Lairds on this issue of this hole of where, yeah, you can be found to be dangerous, but you can just go out and buy another gun. And I said, well, listen, I'll get involved in this. I'm not going to advocate for the change you want to make, because that's expanding the red flag law, and that's not something I'm going to support. But if you think there's overwhelming support for that, I said, I'll tell you right now, there are many other things in this statute that are horribly flawed and we need to fix. And the number one thing is this ridiculously overly broad definition of dangerous, including this emotionally unstable BS. And I was talking to Representative Shibley, who, by the way, was my representative at the time because her district covered Zionsville, where I live. It no longer does, and she didn't run for re-election. And she goes, well, Guy, emotionally unstable, where, I think the legislature was trying to reach people that are suicidal, because we want to be able to keep people safe who are suicidal by separating them from their guns. And I said, well, then say suicidal. That's easy. Because in court, I can prove or present evidence on whether somebody's suicidal or not. Have they tried to kill themselves? No. Have they talked about killing themselves? No. Have they locked themselves in the bathroom with a gun to their head? No, they're not suicidal. I win. Give him his guns back. Violent? Yes. He tried to hurt somebody? No. He's not violent. So violent or suicidal conduct makes some sense. And by the way, on this may be a danger in the future, that's not based on any evidence. That's just speculation. So we changed that to, according to the bill that I helped, or at least I contributed to in 2019, make it at least probable they will be a danger. And why was that may be a danger in the future in there at all? Kenneth Anderson, the crazy guy who murdered Jake Laird. He was a paranoid schizophrenic who didn't take his medication. But he had documented evidence that he'd been dangerous in the past and threatening. Hadn't committed a crime, or at least been convicted of a crime. So they wrote this may be a danger in the future thing, specifically around the facts of the Laird case and Kenneth Anderson's own conduct prior to the murder of Officer Laird. And I get that. I understand their motivation, but they wrote a ridiculously overly broad, in my view, as I argued, unconstitutional statute in the process. So we changed that to say it's probable they will be a danger in the future. Now that takes some evidence. Based on what? And it has to be clear and convincing evidence, by the way. Now we've firmed up this definition. I'll tell you right now, I have won a good at least dozen red flag cases because we firmed up that definition of dangerous. That was a huge, huge, huge improvement to that bill. And we built in several other improvements. Now, instead of police necessarily holding onto your gun while you're fighting over whether your gun should have been seized under the red flag law. Now you can have them be held by a quote-unquote responsible person. Your buddy with the gun safe, a gun store. You know somebody owns a gun store. Hey, man, can you hold my guns while I'm going through this red flag thing? Sure. They sign an affidavit that says, I have a secure place to store them, and I won't give them back until the person's found to not be dangerous. Now you can have your guns not stored in a barrel in the damp basement of the city-county building in the IMPD property room, but held in a way they won't be damaged. We build in, if they are damaged, because they're not stored responsibly by the police or handled responsibly, the police department is now liable for that. They have to write you a check and compensate you for that. That's an improvement we made in 2019. There were some departments across the country that were engraving either the receiver or the barrel of a gun, engraving it with the cause number of the red flag case to identify that gun for the red flag case. I'll tell you what, I've got some, I don't have any real expensive guns, but I've got some nice guns. You engrave the barrel of my gun with a hand engraver like some of these departments were doing? Hell no. We said it's illegal to do that. And several other significant improvements. And what we were bargaining with, especially to get this ridiculous definition of dangerous improved, was the momentum that was already behind the amendment of the statute to include making someone who's been found to be dangerous a prohibited possessor. And listen, that train was going to leave the station. I talked to a lot of different legislators who said, yeah, man, I've heard from a lot of cops on this. If a lot of other people in the community, this is something we got to fix in this statute. And I said, well, hold on. Before you do that, let's fix some things on the other side of the ledger that are really wrong with the statute from a gun owner's perspective. And we ended up getting a ton done, including the dramatic improvement of the definition of dangerous. So that's what happened in 2000. That's what actually happened in 2019. What did the Dorr brothers say about all that? Why did they say they founded Indiana Firearms Coalition? Because gun owners were getting sold down the river by existing organizations based on the amendment of the red flag statute in 2019. The amendments I just described to you is the context. That's what we'll get into when we come back. Right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Weatherman upset that Trump cutting some funding to the National Weather Service. The war on science. Yeah, tell me more about that science that told me I had to wear a mask made in China that didn't protect me from anything. Tell me about the science of 6 feet apart. Tell me about the science of being in a restaurant. You can sit down and eat with no mask, but you got to stand up and wear a mask. But if you go to Cannes, you got to stand back up and put it on again.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the Law Office of Guy Relford. If you've lost your constitutional rights under the Second Amendment, would like them restored due to a felony conviction or perhaps in a red flag proceeding like I'm talking about tonight. You're not stuck with that forever. There are ways we can reverse those things. Not for everybody, but for a whole lot of people. We'd love to talk to you about that. You can contact us through the website if you want to know whether that applies to you or a loved one or someone in your family. Contact us at relfordlaw.com. The phone number's right there. You can send us an email through the website. It's relfordlaw.com.
Comcast Business High Five Hotline. What's the state of your excitement?
I signed my business up for the 5-year price lock guarantee, and I can't stop high-fiving people. High five!
Okay, deep breath. You're in a good place. You signed your business up for 5 years of gig speed internet and advanced security, all on our ultra-reliable network.
Gig speeds and advanced security? I'm so stoked.
Yep, and you get it at a great rate that's locked in for 5 years.
Woo!
The high five is just your body's way of saying, I'm winning.
So this is natural.
High-fiving everyone you see in a state of business savings enthusiasm, totally natural.
Sweet! Thank you! Thank you! High five, everybody! High five!
The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee is back, but only for a limited time, so sign your business up today.
High five!
Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 9/21/25 for new customers with qualifying bundle. Current customers may be eligible depending on services and area. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield has the deals you've been looking for your next car, truck, SUV, or electric vehicle. And right now, during their Red, White, and New sales event, you will get independence from car payments with no payments for 3 months and enjoy your freedom in the new Ford F-150 Super Crew or Mustang with 0% APR financing for 48 months. At Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, they're pros at servicing your commercial vehicles. From medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks, talk to Andy Moore Ford, the biggest selection of Super Duties in the entire state. Over 175 Super Duty trucks are on the ground and ready for you and your business, and you can save thousands because Andy always gives you more. And with an expert team and a fast turnaround, they know how to keep your business moving. Talk to Andy Moore Ford today. 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield or online at Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R. I love Andy. AndyMooreFord.com.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Everyone knows that PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is the place to get one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. Diamonds, gold, gemstones, watches, everything. But PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse is also the place to sell your jewelry, your watches, your coins, or bullion. PA Jewelers has the best prices and the best payouts. And they walk you through the process so you know what your pieces are worth and what you're getting. PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg, or online at pajewelers.jewelry. That's pajewelers.jewelry.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our home has had Rhino Shield for 10 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at GotYour6.org. Up to 100 times more potent than morphine, the tiniest amount of illegal fentanyl is all it takes to cause an overdose. Learn more at cdc.gov/overdose.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. It's talking about the Indiana Firearm Coalition. And again, I hate it when gun rights groups turn on each other, but these guys are just grifters and frauds. And I really want to expose them for what they are. A lot of other people have. Seriously, just Google it. Dorr Brothers, 2A, whatever you want to call it, DORR, and a lot of different articles. By the way, my friend Chris Lee at the National Shooting Sports Foundation wrote a great article in Shooting Sports that talks about these guys and really exposes them. So in this same video I'm talking about, of course, they went after Chris personally, posted a picture of him with hunting gear on, holding a beautiful pheasant up, and they ridiculed him for being a false firearm enthusiast because he had, quote unquote, new hunting equipment on, and all that was just BS. I know Chris. I've known him for years. He's been a long-time hunter his whole life and a true advocate for Second Amendment rights. And it just shows you how idiotic the attacks these people make on people really can be about the way they went after Chris. And by the way, I'm fully expecting something along the lines coming after me. Hey, take your best shot. But their position in this video is they formed the Indiana Firearms Coalition because of the horrible rhinos and backstabbers that not only stood by while the red flag statute was passed in 2005, but then stepped up and actually made it much, much worse in 2019. And they said, boy, we just can't let this spread, and this is going to influence other states. And it allows lawmakers in other states to say, wow, if red state like Indiana can pass this horrible red flag law, that we should be able to do it here. So they need to step up and save us from what's going on in the Indiana General Assembly. And so they formed the Indiana Firearms Coalition in 2019, or 2021 rather. And listen, they're just wrong about the statute in 2019. We dramatically improved the statute. I was right in the middle of the process. I was the one fighting to fix the definition of dangerous, and we got that done. And again, there are people right now that still have their gun rights because we took out this ridiculous, emotionally unstable, and maybe a danger in the future. Now there has to be real evidence of dangerousness, or including being suicidal, and people will win cases for generations based on those improvements. That wasn't selling anybody down the river. That wasn't turning our backs on gun owners. That was fighting the fight. It's participating in the process, being at the table. I know a lot of this was around my table in my office in Carmel. I'm meeting legislators going, here's how we can improve this thing that needs to be improved. And yes, they added criminal penalties to say if you buy a gun or possess a gun after you're found to be dangerous, then now that's a misdemeanor. By the way, they wanted to make it a felony. And I participated in discussions where we talked them into reducing it only to a misdemeanor. It's a felony if you provide a gun to someone knowing they've been determined to be dangerous, but you yourself, only a misdemeanor. So we held that down. But yes, you could say that was an expansion of the red flag statute. That's fair. But it was more than counterbalanced by the dramatic improvements we made in it, and that's helping a lot of people I know because I handle the cases on the ground in the courtroom. And with that, I'll tell you what, let's go to the phone lines because Anthony has called in to, I believe, talk about the Dorr brothers as well. Anthony, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Yeah, good evening. I'm glad you stepped up to talk about these grifters. Something that you haven't mentioned yet, and they do this with every single one of their headquarters. So 17 different headquarters they've got?
Yeah, they're UPS box stores.
Yeah, it's a UPS mail and parcel drop box on Washington Street in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I know.
And they do every single one. The other thing is that, these guys are going after kind of you tangentially, but some of the guys in the Indiana General Assembly who get no credit from them for doing stuff like Ben Smaltz.
Oh, I know.
Jim Lucas,
They went after Ben in this same video. They said, "Oh, well, we're going to primary Ben Smaltz, and that's going to put the fear of God in him because we're going to fund his opponent. Ben Smaltz isn't losing any primary anytime soon, and certainly not because of the Dorr brothers."
Yeah, you and Jim Lucas did the Kisti's law.
Yeah.
Where were these guys? Crickets chirping.
Well, exactly. And listen, Anthony, thanks so much for your call. I've never seen these guys in the State House. And listen, Aaron Dorr in particular, he's the older one. He's the most vocal. I think he brags about being so involved in the legislative process. He's a noticeable guy. He's a great, big, heavy guy. Balding, hey, I don't hold that against him. But he's got these big dark circles under his eyes. He just looks as shady as he really is. He's not a guy you're going to miss walking around the hallways of the State House, much less showing up in a committee hearing somewhere. He's never ever shown up in support of a bill. I've seen a couple of pictures. In fact, I've seen articles from other states where he was made fun of and ridiculed because he showed up with a tripod to take a picture of himself in the State House, posed for the picture, took the tripod down and left, and they were in the middle of a legislative session. His only involvement was just to catch a picture of himself in the State House before he ran out the door. Let's go back to the phone lines, and Kelly in Avon, my buddy, has called. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Guy. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Get myself a little riled up here.
Yeah, me too. I also wasted 38 minutes and 14 seconds of my life yesterday watching that video. I tell you what, though, Indiana gun owners caught some actual hate from the eldest Dorr brother there. I kind of view that as street cred for Indiana gun owners, which is
if people don't know about that, if people don't know about that, it's IndianaGunOwners.com, affectionately known as INGO. And I'm a member. I just posted a little bit on there. I don't post near as much as I used to, but INGO is a great resource. There's a ton of different forums, topics you can select from, including legislating the Second Amendment, which is one that I look at often and contribute to on occasion, and as does Kelly. But for him to come around and go after INGO, I mean, the largest forum online for gun owners in Indiana after he's formed Indiana Firearms Coalition, that doesn't seem to be a very productive enterprise for him in my mind, Kelly.
Well, we were out in front in 2019 identifying them as grifters and scam artists, so that might be why he said we attacked them. But if he would have hung around a little more, he would see that sub-forum you mentioned, the legislation of the Second Amendment, where, the members here are very active in this, not only legislation here in Indiana, but around the country.
Well, exactly.
And INGO members are the people stepping up when there needs to be phone calls and emails and even old-fashioned snail mail to our representatives to let them know we're out here.
You bet. Well, INGO does a great service. I'm a fan of the forum. It's like any online forum. You can run into a knucklehead here or there, but for the most part, it's really, I think, well done, well moderated, and very, very useful for the Indiana gun owner. Tell you what, let's call it there. Let's take a break. We come back. I'm going to go more through some of the horrible attacks, again, on other gun organizations, on INGO, the Indiana Gun Owners Forum, on other gun rights organizations. But and what really kind of set me off, and the reason I decided to talk about these grifters on the show tonight, is they started taking credit for things that they had absolutely nothing to do with, and a lot of which I was directly involved in. That sets me off. You set me off like that, I'm going to call it, especially right here on the Gun Guy Show. And with that, let's take a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day. Not with all this happening. Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry, Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating. Family owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product, which repels moisture, scratch resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas too. For a free quote, call 317-696-4071 or visit premierdeckcoating.com.
Give your home a transformation with incredible savings at Thompson Furniture Mattress in Columbus. Hey, this is Spencer Thompson, and now through Monday, it's the Smith Brothers of Bern factory authorized sale. Save 50% off every sofa, sectional, recliner, and more. Made in Indiana, lifetime warranty, and you can save up to an additional 20% off your purchase. Enjoy free delivery, interest-free financing, and cash discounts. Hurry, sale ends Monday only at Thompson Furniture Mattress in Columbus.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Turn things all the way up and find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy.
This hour on 93 WIBC, powered by Pierce Jewelers and Carmel, designers of fine custom jewelry.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. A judge has denied bail for 28-year-old truck driver Harjinder Singh, charged with causing an accident in Florida which led to 3 deaths.
The judge says that since 28-year-old Harjinder Singh is an illegal immigrant, she believes he is a flight risk.
Fox's Madison Scarpino. Singh allegedly caused an accident by attempting a U-turn with his 18-wheeler on a busy highway. The Texas State Senate has approved a Trump-backed redistricting plan, which could give Republicans 5 more seats in Congress.
The Senate's approval follows weeks of uncertainty after House Democrats fled the state for 15 days to block the 2/3 quorum needed to conduct business.
Fox's Chanley Painter. Texas Governor Greg Abbott plans to sign the measure. America is listening to Fox News.
An official message from Medicare.
I'm saving money on my Medicare prescriptions. Maybe you can save too. With Medicare's Extra Help program, my premium is zero and my out-of-pocket costs are low. Who should apply? Single people making less than $24,000 a year or married couples who make less than $32,000. Even if you don't think you qualify, it pays to find out.
Go to ssa.gov/extrahelp. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
My mom just found the best place ever, Wilson's Farm Market. They've got the best ice cream, in tons of flavors like butter pecan, orange pineapple, but my favorite is the old-fashioned vanilla. And the candy? Whoa. There's a whole wall of it. Gummies, chocolates, giant jawbreakers, even old school stuff my grandma loves. It's like a candy wonderland. And they let me pick out my own bag? Yes! Wilson's is just 20 minutes north of Carmel. Tell your crew it's time for a sweet road trip. Wilson Farm Market, you gotta go!
You've worked hard to save for retirement. Is your financial advisor working just as hard? Find out with Greg Ayler, Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I'm not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, yeah. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Let's talk about the Indiana Firearms Coalition. Unfortunately, some grifters, scam artists among us, trying to get your contributions and in the process do virtually nothing for gun owners in Indiana, and then try to take credit for the hard work and success of others, which is setting a lot of us off who are actually involved in the fight. And so it's time to call them out. And again, there's a great thread on INGO, Indiana Gun Owners. It's indianagunowners.com under legislating the Second Amendment. And it just lays it out. Even Kelly and Avon, who just called, even has timestamps on one post here that talks about the different topics these guys get into and how completely off base they are. But with that, something that got me, so they said, okay, well, in response to all the rhinos and the backstabbers, expanding the red flag law in 2019. Now, we dramatically improved the red flag law in 2019 in ways I went through. That's when we formed the Indiana Firearms Coalition. And boy, it's a good thing we did. That we formed it in 2021 in reaction to what happened in 2019. And by the way, if you formed Indiana Firearms Coalition in 2021, that means you were formed during the fight for constitutional carry. Probably the biggest, and again, there are others out there. The preemption bill prevents local governments from regulating firearms is huge. The self-defense immunity bill that I wrote and we passed 2019 is also big. But I don't have any problem saying constitutional carry is the biggest pro-2A achievement we've achieved here in Indiana. And it was a 10-year fight to get it done. And I was involved all 10 years. Well, if Indiana Firearms Coalition was formed in 2021, that means they were formed. They were supposedly fighting for 2A rights in Indiana in 2021. Where were they in 2022 when we finally got it passed? For all the hearings, all the conversations in the hallway, all the strategy sessions, all the meetings with legislators, Where was Aaron Dorr? Where was Chris Dorr? Where were the other two Dorr brothers? They weren't in the State House. I know because I was there. Never testified in a committee hearing ever once. At one point, they show a picture of somebody testifying in one of the committee rooms in Indiana. And Aaron Dorr goes, yeah, you know, some of these Midwest courthouses or state houses are not great. You know, look at this conference room. Yeah, it's in the basement. I've testified in that particular room dozens of times. And I'm going, I've never seen you there. You're making it sound like you've been there. I don't know. You may have stopped by and taken a picture. You've never shown up for any significant event. And you sure as hell weren't involved in the fight for constitutional carry when we finally got it passed in 2022. I'm sure you want to take credit for it. But then in the video, they go on to say, boy, it sure is a good thing that we're around here in Indiana, because in 2023, they attempted to expand the red flag law again. And we snuffed it out. We stepped up and headed it off. And we got our email campaign out, and we sent text messages to legislators, and we got involved, and we snuffed out another attempt to expand the red flag law in 2023. Well, what are we talking about? Yeah, there was a horrible attempt to expand the red flag law in 2023, and what it was a bill. The worst thing, there were several bad things about it, but the worst thing about it, it would have made you a prohibited possessor. Immediately upon a judge finding probable cause to believe that you're dangerous, or a judge issuing a warrant based on probable cause to seize firearms from you based on probable cause that you're dangerous. Now, at this point, you've had no due process other than the judge reviewing and essentially an application. It's an affidavit about establishing probable cause. But you haven't had your own day in court yet. And in that sense, to make you a prohibited possessor, you've lost your Second Amendment rights. You cannot go into a gun store and buy a gun. You're a prohibited possessor just like a felon when you haven't had a court hearing yet. And we said, oh, hell no. But the prosecutor's office and several police departments around the country were saying, oh, we need this because, you know, these people still have access to guns before they have their hearing, and these things can stretch out for a while if they ask for more time before their hearing, and we're worried, you know, they're going to go out and commit crimes or hurt people in the process, in the interim. So we need them declared prohibited possessors and make it illegal for them to have a gun before their day in court, where they get to come in and present their own evidence and have a lawyer represent them and have all the other elements of due process. And that was a bill filed in the Senate, and it was assigned to Aaron Freeman's committee, Senator Aaron Freeman, chairman of the Courts and Criminal Code Committee in the Senate. And Aaron, I always give him credit in 2022 during constitutional carry. I think he saved us on constitutional carry in the Senate. And he was just a rock star, and I always willing to give him credit for that. And he's been very solid on 2A issues in the past. But Aaron was Aaron, you know, has a lot of former connections to law enforcement himself, and is always considered very pro law enforcement in addition to being pro 2A. And yes, you can be both. I put myself in the same category. But he was getting pressure from the Prosecutors Association and police departments to say, yeah, we ought to make people prohibited possessors before the hearing. But, oh, by the way, when they get their hearing, and if they're not shown to be dangerous at that point, then okay, then that prohibition gets lifted. And we actually had a meeting. And it was Senator Chairman Aaron Freeman and me and 3 members of the Indiana Prosecutors Association who were pushing for the bill. And I was there on the pro 2A side, and the prosecutors were pushing the bill, and we had a discussion. And I talked about how I could never support a bill that would make people a prohibited possessor before they ever had their day in court to present their own evidence. And I talked about all the cases I've won. They said, well, you got to understand, these people are going to lose eventually. I mean, there's a reason the judge found probable cause. And I'd say, I'm batting about 880 on winning these things. In terms of, I win most of them. And that's not because I'm a great lawyer. It's because I take cases I believe we should win. And a person's not dangerous. And I said, we're going to make those people prohibited possessor before their day in court? Hell no. To me, I will litigate that. I will take that up, and I will win that on due process grounds in the Court of Appeals of the Indiana Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court. I will litigate this issue, and I believe I will win it. And I wasn't disrespectful to anybody, and the prosecutors were all very respectful as well, and we had a nice professional conversation. But at the end of the day, Senator Freeman said, I don't believe this bill should move forward in its current form for the reasons that we've discussed here, meaning the reasons I discussed there. And so that bill died in committee. It didn't get a hearing. And in this video, the Dorr brothers, after knowing that history myself, I mean, having known about that meeting and how Senator Aaron Freeman killed it because of the right reasons, because he's a solid senator and I think a great representative of Indiana citizens in the Indiana General Assembly. He made the right decision. And yes, I had a lot of input on that point, and I think I was persuasive in the process. But the Dorr brothers said, yeah, we launched our campaign because we had stepped in and gotten involved in Indiana, and boy, it's a good thing we did because we snuffed out this bill in 2023. And they took all the credit. I never heard from these people. I never saw them. I never talked to any legislators that had ever heard from them. They did nothing to achieve that result in 2023, and that they took all the credit. Not okay with that. But get this, and we'll wrap up when we come back on this point. Again, a short segment. The bill I wrote last year to where if people are found to not be dangerous or no longer be dangerous, and they can now expunge that off their public record so they don't lose jobs, lose relationships. I wrote that. I fought for it in the General Assembly. Ben Smaltz introduced it. Guess who took credit for that bill as well? Yeah, you guessed it. The slime balls at Indiana Firearms Coalition. Right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
The ultimate job of why we send people to Congress is not to be a teammate or an opposition to the president. It's to be a check and balance. If there's areas you agree, great, you vote together. If there's areas you don't agree, you push back. And all we see now in terms of our Congress is just, hey, if it's Democrat, it's blanket opposition. And if you're Republican, it's blatant errand boy behavior.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Whether you're dropping them off for the first day of school or they're driving themselves for the first time, we know you have enough on your mind. That's why Hubler's got you and your family covered for 100,000 miles. And we want you to spend less on back to school. That's why you can shop over 2,000 vehicles and buy with zero down. Zero Down delivers. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring us your old car for an immediate appraisal. Head back to school in a Hubler Q-certified vehicle with a free Carfax history report and a 128-point vehicle inspection. Hubler's got you covered. For 100,000 miles, visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Zero Down delivers at Hubler. 'Cause Hubler's got you covered.
Select models approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Cover me!
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning. Owner Jim Scott is based in Clinton County, but they're now serving a larger area.
Boone County and Hamilton County, there are just not enough HVAC contractors in those areas to handle the demand. So we can offer a value for them because of our 5-star rating, family-owned, quality.
On the north side, give Jim's a call at 765-601-1461. Jim's is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Grown-ups, don't go back to school. Go forward through school into your future as an IT professional. Whether you're starting out, switching careers, or a veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you get into IT in just a few short months with no prior experience. So take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Your rewarding career in IT awaits. That's mycomputercareer.edu. An Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the VA benefits.
Have you tried Wings Etc.'s new ranch fire sauce? House-made ranch with a fiery kiss of fresh ground habanero peppers and garlic. New ranch fire on our hand-breaded chicken sandwich? Big flavor. On a jalapeno bacon burger? Big flavor. On anything, wings, fries, pretzel bites? Big big flavor. When you want to dance with spicy ranch, come to the folks who've been flying the big flavor flag since 1994. Wings Etc. We got your big flavor right here. Visit wingsetc.com.
Don't wait to hear it from someone else.
I says, oh yeah? And she says, yeah, it's right.
The WIBC Daily Newsletter brings you the headlines, videos, and moments everyone will be talking about next. Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
So, this legislative session, I realized, and it's something I've been talking to legislators about before. In fact, I had a bill I wanted to get introduced last year in 2024. Didn't get that done until this year, but it was a bill that addressed another huge problem with red flag, which is that if someone accuses you of being dangerous and authorities begin a proceeding against you, even if you win, that stays on your criminal history. It's not even a criminal proceeding, it's a civil proceeding. But just like traffic tickets and whatnot, you go to My Case, for instance. I use a separate system called DocsPop that a lot of lawyers use. But I use the lawyer's version of My Case as well. And you can sign on there, just the publicly accessible version of the site, and put in somebody's name and come up with their whole background. You can see civil cases filed against them. You can see criminal cases, but you'd also see red flag cases. And in a criminal case, if you're found not guilty or a case is dismissed, that is immediately expunged. Even if you're found guilty, you can go back for a lot of crimes, not all. This is what I talk about when I'm plugging expungements. You can go back and expunge criminal convictions for a lot of convictions. But because a red flag proceeding was civil and not criminal, there was no way to expunge that off your record. So people were being found to be not dangerous, but then going and applying for a job, and they run it and they go, well, wow, what's this red flag case where you had gun seized from you? We don't think we want you working for this company. And it was costing people relationships and volunteer opportunities. Had a lady who wasn't allowed to to coach her daughter's softball team. Said, well, we see you had this red flag case. Yeah, but I won. Well, we're not comfortable with that. And so last year I wrote a bill because I saw the need in my cases with my clients. So we ought to be able to clean this off people's records. It shouldn't influence them after they win. So I wrote that bill. And Ben Smaltz was the author in the House, sailed through committee unanimously. Get this, it passed unanimously on the floor of the House, went over to the Senate, passed unanimously in committee out of that. I testified both places. And then passed unanimously on the floor of the Senate. There you go. We win. It passes. Now the law. Guess who took credit for that in their video? The Dorr brothers. They said because the legislators were so afraid of them, they felt the need to do something on red flag and to appease them and passed my expungement statute. That's the scumbag these people are. That's this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Come back next week. And always remember, be safe and shoot straight.
Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield has the deals you've been looking for your next car, truck, SUV, or electric vehicle. And right now, during their Red, White, and New sales event, you will get independence from car payments with